A vicar goes to the dentist for a set of false teeth. On the first Sunday with his new teeth, he could only preach for 8 minutes. On the second Sunday, he could only preach for 10 minutes. On the third Sunday, he preached for 2 hours and 48 minutes. The congregation had to mob him and drag him down from the pulpit. They asked him what's going on. So he explains his gums were so sore on the first and second sermons with the new teeth that he had to stop. But on the third Sunday, he accidentally put in his wife's teeth and he couldn't shut up. A man was sitting reading his paper when his wife hit him round the head with a frying pan. "What was that for?" the man asked. The wife replied, "That was for the piece of paper with the name Jenny on it that I found in your pants pocket." The man said, "When I was at the races last week, Jenny was the name of the horse I bet on." The wife apologized and went on with the housework. 3 days later, the man is watching TV when his wife bashes him on the head with an even bigger frying pan, knocking him unconscious. Upon regaining consciousness, the man asked why she had hit again. She replied, "Your horse called." Paul and Mary get married but can't afford a honeymoon. So they go back to the house of Paul's parents to spend their first marital night together. In the morning, Johnny, Paul's little brother, gets up and has his breakfast. As he is going out of his front door to go to school, he asks his mom if Paul and Mary are up yet. She replies, "No." Johnny asks, "Do you know what I think?" His mom replies, "I don't want to hear what you think. You just go to school." Johnny comes home for lunch and asks his mom, "Are Paul and Mary up yet?" She replies, "No." Johnny says, "Do you know what I think?" His mom replies, "Never mind what you think. Eat your lunch and go to your tuition class." After tuition, Johnny comes home and asks again from his mom, "Are Paul and Mary up yet?" His mom says, "No." Johnny asks, "Do you know what I think?" His mom replies, Okay now, tell me what you think." Johnny says, "Last night in the dead of night, Paul came to my room for my tube of Vaseline, and I think I accidentally gave him my tube of superglue." Moral of the story: it pays to listen to kids. Elsie, an elderly lady, was patiently waiting to park in a spot when a young man in his brand new red BMW zipped around her and claimed the space she had been eyeing. Fuming, Elsie approached the young fellow and with a forced smile said, "I was about to park there." The young man, barely glancing at her, replied with a smirk, "That's what you get to do when you're young and sharp." Infuriated, Elsie climbed back into her car, shifted it into reverse, and without hesitation, stomped on the accelerator, ramming straight into his shiny BMW. The young man rushed back, eyes wide, and shouted, "What on earth did you do that for?" Elsie, now with a satisfied grin, looked him in the eye and said, "That's what you can do when you're old and rich." A stranger was seated next to little Johnny on the plane when the stranger turned to little Johnny and said, "Let's talk. I've heard that flights will go quicker if you strike up a conversation with your fellow passenger." Little Johnny, who had just opened his book, closed it slowly and said to the stranger, "What would you like to discuss?" "Oh, I don't know," said the stranger. "How about nuclear power?" "Okay," said an obviously annoyed little Johnny. "That could be an interesting topic. But let me ask you a question first. A horse, a cow, and a deer all eat grass, the same stuff, yet a deer excretes little pellets, while a cow turns out a flat patty, and a horse produces clumps of dried grass. Why do you suppose that is?" "Geez," said the stranger, "I have no idea." "Well then," said little Johnny, "how is it that you feel qualified to discuss nuclear power when you don't know sh-?" A man in a bar notices a beautiful woman, always alone, that comes in on a regular basis. He wants to meet her, but he just can't seem to find the courage to approach her. After the second week, he decides to make his move. Despite his best game, the man can't achieve any progress with her. "No, thank you," she would always say. The man is persistent, and finally, one night they strike up a conversation. They have an instant connection, but things never get past the formalities. One night he asks her if she would like to come back to his place. "No, thank you," she says politely. "Why won't you come home with me?" he asks. "Well," she replies, "this may sound rather odd in this day and age, but I'm keeping myself pure until I meet the man I love." "Wow, that must be rather difficult," says the man. "Oh, I don't really mind too much," the woman replies. "But it has my husband pretty upset." A Scottish couple took in a young woman as a lodger. She asked if she could have a bath, but the woman of the house told her they didn't have a bathtub inside, although if she wanted to, she could use the outside tub. "Monday's the best night when my husband goes out to play darts," she said. The woman agreed to have a bath outside the following Monday. After her husband had gone to the pub for his dart match, she heated the outside tub and watched the woman get undressed. She was surprised to see she didn't have any pubic hair. She mentioned this to her husband when he came home. He didn't believe her, so she said, "Next Monday, when you go to play darts, leave a little early and wait in the back garden so you can see for yourself." So the following Monday, while the woman again got undressed and was getting into the tub, the wife asked, "Do you shave?" "No," she replied. "I've just never grown any hair down there." "Do you have hair?" "Oh yes," said the woman, and she pulled up her nightdress and showed the girl how generously endowed she was in the hair department. The lodger finished her bath and went to bed. Later that night, when the husband came in, his wife asked him, "Did you see it?" "Yes," he said, "but why did you have to show her yours?" "Why so upset? You've seen it for years," she answered. "Aye," he replied, "but the darts team hadn't." A married couple wakes up one morning, and while still lying in bed, the wife turns to her husband and says, "Maybe you shouldn't go to work today." "What do you mean? Why shouldn't I go to work today?" replied the confused husband. "I think you've been working too hard, so maybe instead of going to the office, you should take a few days off, pack a suitcase, and go stay with a friend for a few days away from home." The husband thought for a moment and decided to jump at the suggestion before it disappeared. Within moments, he was up, dressed, and started packing clothes into a bag. Just out of curiosity, the husband asked while getting ready, "How did you come to the conclusion that I've been working so hard that I need a break?" "You were dreaming about your work all night," the wife answered. "Really? How do you know I was having dreams about work?" "Because every 2 minutes you were shouting your secretary's name." 8. A man passed away, and his friend, trying to comfort his widow, asked, "Can I take his place?" The widow, looking calm, replied, "I have no objections, but you should probably check with the cemetery staff first." One peaceful morning, a young boy and his father set out for a fishing trip. After a few quiet hours on the boat, the boy, filled with curiosity, began asking questions about the world around him. He looked up at his dad and asked, "How do fish breathe underwater?" His dad thought for a moment, then simply replied, "I really don't know, son." The boy, not deterred, paused for a while before asking, "How does our boat float on the water?" Once again, his dad answered, "I don't know, son." The boy sat in deep thought for a moment, and then asked, "Why is the sky blue?" His dad, smiling gently, replied, "I don't know, son." Feeling concerned that his questions might be bothering his father, the boy hesitated before asking, "Dad, do you mind that I'm asking you all of these questions?" His dad turned to him, his eyes warm and kind, and said, "Of course not, son. How else are you ever going to learn anything?" 10. A kind-hearted motorist saw a man struggling to change a tire alongside the highway and pulled over to see whether he could help. The man had a very red face and a dark smear across it where he'd wiped off sweat with dirty hands. His tie was undone and his shirt collar askew, and it was clear he had also wiped his hands on his once white shirt. Close to him stood an immaculately neat woman who was speaking in quick, agitated tones. "Hello there," said the motorist. "Say, I've changed a lot of tires. Maybe I can help here." "You sure can," the man with the flat tire replied wearily. "My wife is an expert too. If you will just do all the arguing with her about how this tire ought to be changed, I will concentrate on the dirty work and get the job done." A woman gets cheated by her husband. Devastated, she doesn't know how to continue to live her life. She heard that there's a very wise monk who lives up in a mountain and decided to go there to consult him. After a few days of traveling, walking, climbing, she reaches the top and meets the wise monk. "I have spent my whole life with him. My youth was dedicated to support him, take care of him, and now he left me with a young woman. My life is stolen and I'm left with nothing. I don't know what to do." The monk gives her a cookie and asks her to eat it. After she finishes eating, he asks, "Is the cookie delicious?" "Yes," she answered. "Do you want another one?" "Sure, please." The monk looks her in the eyes and said, "Do you see the problem now?" The woman thinks for a while and then slowly speaks. "I guess human nature is greedy. You got one, then you want more, maybe a new one, bigger one. It's never enough, and nothing lasts forever. anything is impermanence. We should be aware and not disappointed for that. The monk shakes his head. No, I mean you are too fat. You should eat less. Congratulating a friend after her son and daughter got married within a month of each other, a woman asked, "What kind of boy did your daughter marry?" "Oh, he's wonderful," gushed the mother. "He lets her sleep late, wants her to go to the beauty parlor regularly, and insists on taking her out to dinner every night." "That's nice," said the woman. "What about your son?" "I'm not so happy about that," the mother sighed. "His wife sleeps late, spends all her time in the beauty parlor, and makes them eat take-out meals." 13. When a physician remarked on a new patient's extraordinarily ruddy complexion, he said, "High blood pressure, doc. It comes from my family." "Your mother's side or your father's?" the doctor asked. "Neither," he replied. "It's from my wife's family." "Oh, come now," the doctor said. "How could your wife's family give you high blood pressure?" He sighed. "You ought to meet me sometime, Doc." A young man and woman were eager to enjoy a picnic in the park one Saturday at noon, and they opted to go through a fast food drive-in for a quick snack. They ordered, paid, got their bag of goodies, and headed for the park. When they opened the bag, it was full of money instead of the hamburgers they expected. They rushed back to the fast food place and returned the money. "This is wonderful," exclaimed the manager. "We've been looking for this money all morning and couldn't figure out where it could have been misplaced. You two are an honest couple. A lot of people would not have the morals and honesty to return the money. I'm going to call the TV and the newspapers and let everybody know what an honest deed you've done." "Don't do that," says the man. "My wife might see it on TV." Ma was in the kitchen, fiddling around, when she hollers out, "Pa, you need to go out and fix the outhouse." Pa replies, "There ain't nothing wrong with the outhouse." Ma yells back, "Yes, there is. Now get out there and fix it." Pa moseys out to the outhouse, looks around and yells back, "Ma, there ain't nothing wrong with the outhouse." Ma replies, "Stick your head in the hole." Pa yells back, "I ain't sticking my head in that hole." Ma says, "You have to stick your head in the hole to see what to fix." So with that, Pa sticks his head in the hole, looks around and yells back, "Ma, there ain't nothing wrong with this outhouse." Ma hollers back, "Now take your head out of the hole." Pa proceeds to pull his head out of the hole, then starts yelling, "Ma, help! My beard is stuck in the cracks in the toilet seat." Ma replies, "Hurts, don't it?" A man and his wife were driving along, chatting. The wife asked, "Honey, if I died, would you remarry?" He thought for a moment and replied, "Well, yes, I think I would." The wife fell silent, clearly not thrilled. After a while, she asked, "If you did remarry, would you give her my jewelry?" "Well, yes, I suppose I would," he answered, now even less pleased. She pondered quietly before asking, "Would you give her my handbags too?" "Sure, I think I would," he said. Frowning, she pressed on, "What about my golf clubs?" He quickly replied, "No." Surprised, she asked, Why not? Because she's left-handed.